Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jillian Berry, and today we have an incredible guest with us. We have Timothy Schultz. He is amazing. He actually won a $28 million Powerball jackpot lottery, and his story is just incredible. And many people believe that part of the reason he won this was using the law of attraction. So, not only this, Timothy went into film after as well, and he follows his passion, runs a YouTube channel and a podcast as well, sharing incredible stories of people who have won the lottery. And I see lots of similarities on there with a lot of them about the law of attraction and manifesting and all these amazing things. So, this channel, we love to talk about healthy living. And along with that comes positivity, manifesting, law of attraction. And Timothy is not just your average lottery winner. He has a very deep spiritual side as well. So, we're going to talk a lot about spirituality, attracting things, law of attraction. It's going to be incredible. So you guys are going to want to stick around to the end and let's get right into it. Hey, Timothy, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jillian. I really appreciate it. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited. So I would love to get right into it and sort of talk about how this happened. How did you win the lottery? And I know I believe you had a dream about it and then you believed it would happen. And I do believe for the most part, we really are creators of our own universe and we can think and feel and then act appropriately things into existence. So I would just love to hear how this happened and why you believe it happened.
Mm. Well, so how it happened, and it's a long story, but it was a life changing thing way back in the day. In 1999, won the lottery, and it really turned my life on its head, and it changed so many things. It didn't necessarily change who I was, but it changed everything almost overnight. And as you mentioned, a few months prior to the win, I had this very vivid dream that it was going to, or that I had won in the dream. I had already won. And then a few months later, it happened. So after that dream, I believed that it was going to happen because of the dream. And so I find that type of thing very, very interesting. It's very intriguing. And some people will say, oh, that's just a coincidence that, how many people dream about winning the lottery and then it happens. But I, I think I just find that type of thing really, really interesting. I've had a lot of dreams in my life that have come true. The lottery is just one of them. And so one of the things I'm doing now is interviewing other lottery winners on YouTube. And so almost every lottery winner I interview, I ask them about that type of thing. Did they, not necessarily a dream, but did they believe that they were going to win before it happened, and why? And it's really surprising and interesting to me that almost every lottery winner that I meet and interview did in fact believe that for one reason or another that that it might happen. And if you're one of those people watching this that think, oh, that's just a coincidence, then I have complete respect for you. But I find that it's very interesting and intriguing to explore is there a deeper meaning to why people win? And for myself, back to the win itself, I mean, it was really, really life changing. And the day that I won, I really felt that I was going to win. And when I saw the numbers, I just a gut feeling that I was going to win. That's how I felt. And I told my coworkers, I told my friends, I went out and played a game of cards when I got off work that night. And the game that I was playing was a color coded card game. And I'm partially colorblind. I can't see certain shades of magenta, which is around the purple range of things. And so it was more of a guessing game. And I won almost every game. And maybe that's just a coincidence too. But I felt like I felt very lucky and in the moment that that particular day. And then it happened. And then that night I had a dream that it signified in my head, it signified the end of something. And then I woke up to my father banging on my bedroom door. And, because I had moved back to my parents' house and I was living in their basement at the time, and it was banging on the door. He's like, Tim, get up. your boss called and you sold the winning ticket. I was working at this gas station. I sold it to myself. And he said, you sold the winning ticket. Did you buy, did you buy a ticket? Because he knew that I played from time to time. And,
Hmm.
I thought to myself that yes, I did. I did buy a ticket and I, told everybody I was going to win. I believed I was going to win. I was like, maybe this is the ticket. Maybe this is the one. And I just started freaking out and I couldn't find the ticket anywhere. I got out of bed and I was like, I was 21 years old. I couldn't find anything. Everything was all unorganized. Not, I know there's some very organized 21-year-olds, so there's nothing against that. But
Yeah.
for me, I wasn't or the
No, me
most
too.
organized. So there are papers everywhere, and I found it was crumpled up in a little ball,
Wow.
and I unraveled it and then went up and compared it to the numbers in the newspaper because back then, way back in the day, we didn't have smartphones and everything. And so we looked at the newspaper and compared the numbers and they matched and it was really surreal.
How
And
did you feel?
I just started hugging my father and jumping up and down and it just felt like a dream. It felt like a dream that I couldn't wake up from. And it was just really, really crazy.
Did you feel like this was some sort of like deeper universal thing or something? Like, did it feel like a spiritual experience at all? Or was it just like, wow, this, you know?
It did feel like a spiritual experience because I had that dream about it and I believed that it was going to happen. And I even had other people tell me before it happened that, you're the type of guy that would win the lottery, like that type of thing. And so I had in my mind that it was completely possible and likely. And then it happened. And so when it happened and all these things prior, it was spiritual because it felt spiritual anyway, because I felt like, is this all a coincidence that I had all of these things
Yeah.
happen and then it happened?
I know, like, this topic really interests me because it makes you wonder, like, is this just like written in the stars in a sense and was like destined to happen? Or was it, you have a deep dream like that and then you start really believing it. And then because of that, you attract it and it actually happens. I know like this can happen for good and bad. When I was young, my mom had something bad, like she had a dream about a bad car accident happening. And then 2 weeks later, it was the same thing as the dream, and she was telling her
Mm.
friends, "We can't go. The car accident's gonna happen." Her back broke, and then the actual dream came true. So that was a case of like where it can happen for bad. But I always thought over the years, did that happen because she believed so strongly it was going to happen?
Mm.
Because I really do believe like we can create things like that. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it was, or do you think it was a combination of both? Like some things are our destiny, and it's a bit of like our destiny and our beliefs and the law of attraction.
Well, that's a good question. And, I'm exploring that a lot within myself, but also on my YouTube channel, because I find
Mhm.
it's very interesting. And, maybe it is part of both. I'm open to that. I don't claim to have all of the possibilities, but I find all of it very, very interesting. I've had a lot of dreams about things before they've happened. And you mentioned a car accident. One time I had another similar dream that I was in this really bad car accident. And literally the next day, I was driving on the interstate and there happened to be this thunderstorm that happened. And I was in the middle of a 10-car pileup on the interstate. And it wasn't my fault. It was just because I was in that place at that time. The car behind me hit me. I hit the car in front of me. I was in the middle of this. So it was a chain reaction. There's nothing I could do, but it's just another dream that I had before it happened. And so does that come from something that's already going to happen, or does that come from manifesting
Mhm.
something through the subconscious mind because you believe that it's going to happen?
Mhm.
I mean, it's interesting. I find it really interesting. I've interviewed quantum physicists and some other people involved in whether it's manifesting premonitions, things, having information about things before they happen in real life. And it's really interesting because there is this theory, science doesn't really explain, they don't really know what time is.
Mhm.
And if you go outside of our planet, you get above our planet, you go up into space. I find it very interesting. Like your watch isn't going to work the same way. It
Mhm.
doesn't. So time, scientists don't fully understand time. It's almost as if it's something that we created here. So is it all happening at once? Has it already I mean, that sort of thing is really interesting to me as well. Has it already happened? What's predestined versus what is created now in the subconscious mind? I believe that we can really affect things through our energy. Just because you can't see or touch something doesn't mean it's not there. You can't see the air you breathe, but you're
Mhm.
breathing.
And I think there's so much to the subconscious mind. And really, even this month, I'm taking 30 days off social media right now, and I've got more into affirmations and more into some financial money affirmations as well. And I gotta say, this is the best financial month. I don't know. There's these affirmations I started listening to on the first day. The second day, I attracted a big deal, a big chunk of money out of nowhere. And then I started listening to them when I was sleeping. A couple days, I woke up, had some deposits in my account out of nowhere. So I'm like, I really believe in the subconscious mind. And I'm wondering, like, I know you really are into the subconscious mind as well. Do you have any tips or advice for people out there if they want to get more positive and they want to attract a better life, how they can reprogram their subconscious mind? What you think the best ways are to do that? Maybe what are some things you have done to do that?
Well, I think a lot of what I've done has not necessarily been intentional until recently when I started learning more about this, but I believe that it's all the same, that in that some of the tips are, one thing I think that helps is writing things down. So if you want to have something
Mm-hmm.
happen, if you write this down, visualize it, and believe that it can happen. And there's a book that I read that I found very interesting. It's a very famous book, but anyone that's really into manifestation and the law of attraction,
Now, is it The
creating
Secret?
things.
Not The Secret, is it?
No, 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 no,
No.
no, 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 no. It's an older book, but it's still very, very popular. And
Is it to do with money? I know there's The Science of Getting Rich, but maybe that's not it. Oh, what's the other one? Yeah.
yeah, rich is in the title. Anyway,
Maybe it's The Science of Getting Rich. Because that's a really old one. That one is the book that inspired Rhonda Byrne to write The Secret. That's a really good book. I just listened
mm,
to that this month. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Well, so within the book that I read, recommended, suggested, you know, reciting this, that you write down, reciting it in the morning when you wake up, and then in the afternoon, or not in the afternoon, but in the evening before you go to bed. And I don't necessarily do that, but I feel that I'm a very spiritual person. So I'm very much into prayer. Like I do pray, and I believe in the power of it. And I believe that it works. And that doesn't mean that I'll always, well, it does mean that I believe that I always get answers to my prayers. It's not always what I expect to hear, but I do get answers. What I'm getting at is that I think that is sort of, can be a form of meditation as well. So if you're visualizing something and you believe that it can happen, and you do this consistently and believe, eventually you'll really start to believe that these things can happen
Hmm.
if you're consistent about it. And so I would say consistency, writing things down, reciting it. There are some people that strongly believe in the power of the verbal word, speaking it
I
into
saw someone on your
existence.
channel and she said she learned about the power of positivity and speaking it into existence. I forget what her name was. And she even started saying the word lottery all the time and getting really positive. I think she won the children's lottery here in Canada, something over 2 million or
Mhm,
something. And then she ended up winning the lottery. Yeah. So I think
mhm.
there is something to that. We really do sometimes, in a sense, attract to us a life that we're constantly thinking about, talking about, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. I can't tell you the number of people I've interviewed that do believe that they will win before it happens, and it's very interesting. And I interviewed a woman who won 112 million, and her story is one of the most renowned stories out there for manifestation and that sort of thing, but she swears by it. And the amount is sort of, it, I've interviewed people that have won a lot less than that too, but it's just interesting that you, there are people and plenty of people that I haven't interviewed yet that
Mhm.
believe that they will win, and then they do. And, it's very fascinating. A lot of those people, they had synchronicities happen that led them to believe it. But, everyone's story is different, but it's very, very interesting.
Would you say that would be one of the common qualities you see amongst some of the people you interview on your channel that they've believed it?
The majority of people, I would say that is true for the majority of people, which is really, really
Wow.
interesting
And
to
I feel
me.
like with you, it was really effortless to have to believe it, right? Because you dreamt that and the dream just seemed so real and vivid. So you just automatically believed it. Like you didn't have to put in the work to believe it, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, I had prior to that dream, several dreams that were similar. They felt similar, not about the lottery, but about other subjects, and that convinced me it was going to happen. And so didn't, you're right. Like I believed that it was going to happen. So it's very interesting. And there's so many people that with similar parallel stories, not necessarily about a dream, although there are plenty of people that dream about it and then they win. And there are even people that dream about specific numbers,
Yeah.
which I find interesting. And this woman that I interviewed that won 112 million, she wrote out that specific amount. And so
Wow.
she only played when the lottery got to be that specific amount, and she wrote it out, and she used vision boards and everything. And that's the amount she aimed for. And then she won. Now, is that coincidence? It's,
That
it's crazy.
that is
It's
absolutely wild to
incredible.
me. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, that sort of thing is very interesting. I just interviewed earlier today. It's not going to be out for a few weeks probably, but I just interviewed someone that won $1,000 per week for life in Canada.
Cash
But
for
she
life.
cash for life, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I know that lottery.
yeah, and she's really interested in this type of thing as well, and believes in manifestation, and had some things happen to her that led her to believe before it happened that it was going to happen. And
Wow.
but she's one of I can't tell you how many people. And there's another lottery winner I interviewed in Canada a year or two ago who won Lotto Max,
Yeah.
and I think it was either, well, anyway, it was tens of millions of dollars. I don't remember how much exactly, but it was, a lot of money. And he believed, I mean, he doesn't necessarily subscribe to all this stuff, and I can't speak for him, but he did have some things happen to him that led him to believe that it was going to happen before it happened. And here's the reason I wanted to bring up his story, is because he said that the lottery officials told him that that type of thing happens all the time with people having experiences which lead them to believe that it's going to happen before it happens. And
Wow.
I find that true. And there's so many, and you see all the stories in the media, it's out there all the time. And there are, I mean, manifestation and the law of attraction is very, very interesting to me. But, is it just that, or are some things predetermined with premonitions, or is there some form of, you know, flip a coin luck in there? I don't have all of the answers, but I do know that I've interviewed so many lottery winners that strongly believe for one reason or another that it's going to happen. And for instance, I mean, I could go over story after story, but this one person that wrote out that specific amount, 112 million,
Mhm.
she's not alone. There are other people that out there that wrote out amounts and won tens of millions of dollars. And those stories are really fascinating to me. And
And
it's
do you
hard to think that they're all just a coincidence,
I
especially when I
agree.
have my own experience doing it.
And do you think if they just make, so do you think like, how did she initially think that? Do you think she just made a decision? Okay, I want to win this much money and then started writing it out and started thinking about it all the time. And then she started believing it. Cause I wonder, like, for some people that are like, oh, I want to change my life. I want to get it more positive, whether it's win the lottery or attract a new home, a new car, a relationship, or more health into their life. But they have a hard time believing because their life situation in those areas is just completely opposite from what they want it to be. So how do you
Mm.
think, do you have any suggestions or ways that like people could bring about that belief and start that belief kicking in to sort of attract that and manifest that?
Mm. Well, that's a good question. I think I I mean, I have read a couple books on this type of thing, so I know some of the outside perspective from other people, but what I can really speak definitively about are my own experiences. And for myself, I have a strong belief in that we're connected to something that some people might call it God, but that we're connected to a higher source, that we're all connected
Hmm.
here on this earth in this universe, and that I believe there's nothing more powerful than that. And I believe that's where we all come from and where we all go, and that's what we are. We're all part of this larger, not that every single person has all of the answers, but because we don't, but we're part of something that's extraordinary. And I just, for myself, I pray to God, and that's what I believe. And so I believe that I get answers from this. And so for myself, if someone out there feels similarly, would be to use prayer, not necessarily to win the lottery, but to, ask for what you want in life. You want happiness. Most people want happiness. It can come in a lot of forms. And if you want
Hmm.
financial stability or financial windfall or something like that, I mean, that can come in a lot of forms too. There's plenty of ways that people make money other than the lottery, but you
Hmm.
can win the lottery. If you play, you absolutely have a chance. So
Yeah.
my suggestion, I guess, for people that believe in a higher source, or whether you want to use the word God or not, is that's what I believe. And so I pray, and I believe it's a form of meditation, but I believe that I'm a very spiritual person. I believe that we're not just here when we're born and we don't cease to exist when we die. And I've interviewed people that have had near death experience. Well, I've interviewed one person that's had a near death experience, but I've met others that have as well, that their consciousness lived on. And I produced a feature length documentary on ghosts a few years ago and had quite a few experiences with that I think were unexplainable with spirits.
And they
And
just have so many of the same situations. I'm absolutely fascinated by near death experiences too. And there's just so many of the same things in those stories that makes it hard not to believe it's true. I really love those stories.
yeah, it's so interesting with people that, and science is studying that too, and people that go outside of their bodies and then they see the operation, they see what's going on, or they gain information about things that they did not know or should not know.
Hmm.
If they were just, if they're just in there, that's where they get the information. you know it's interesting.
It is. It's really fascinating. Do you feel like this lottery win has led you down a more spiritual path? And how do you feel like it has changed you spiritually and maybe some of the lessons and things you've learned as a result of manifesting this?
I think it definitely has led me on a spiritual path. I mean, I believe I was spiritual prior to winning, but it's definitely spiritually, I would say. I mean, it changed the way some people treated me
Hmm.
and some relationships, and so I had to learn some lessons about that. I mean, we all know that there is disparity in this world, unfortunately. And so everyone's different. And I think there are a lot of factors such as where you live, who your peers are, how much money you win, and so forth. But I think for a lot of lottery winners, I can't speak for all of them, but for myself, I felt sort of like an instant outlier in a sense. And so because my peers didn't win the lottery
Hmm.
and I was 21 years old, and so I had to do some soul searching about a lot of things, what to do with my life, what's my identity going to be. It's not, I didn't want to just be this lottery winner. You have to have a purpose to
Mhm.
wake up in the morning, something that drives you, something that makes you fulfilled, what fulfills you. And I was always a hard worker, so I was not happy sitting around. And so how to, spiritually, I think, I'm sure that that ties in spiritually about relationships, and also how it affects other people. Most people were very supportive, but there were some relationships that were sort of damaged
Mhm.
from people that wanted money or thought that they should get money, formerly close relationships. And so that, I mean, this was a while ago,
Mhm.
and I'm over this now. Like I've dealt with this. I feel like a healthy person mentally, but at the time, it wasn't the easiest thing to learn how to deal with that, and to learn how to tell people no. Because if I helped everyone that I wanted to, I would have been in financial trouble. But I did a
Yeah.
lot to help people, did everything that I could, and I did a lot of things to help a lot of people. And so it wasn't that I wasn't helping people. It's just that, I guess what I'm getting at is some of the relationships, the dynamics were changed. And so I had to relearn how to navigate that. And I believe that that taught me some spiritual lessons.
And do you
And
feel like maybe sometimes in your life, since you've had such a big win and like the average person doesn't have that kind of money, do you feel like you maybe keep it quiet because you don't want to be treated a different way with people? Well, not now. I guess you're on YouTube and everything too. But before that, like, would you maybe not open up to people about it just because, maybe some people would treat you different, try to take advantage. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And still to this day, I don't go around
Hmm.
other than on YouTube. I do on YouTube, obviously, but that's because I'm passionate about interviewing people, and I love meeting other people that have won the lottery. And I just love doing that. And so on YouTube, I talk about it, but in my day-to-day life, I don't usually bring it up unless if someone else brings it up, that's fine. But it's not, because it can change things. And it's not necessarily, it's one thing that happened to me, and it's a very, I mean, it changed my life in some very big ways. But it's, you know, every lottery winner I've ever met, including myself, we're not just lottery winners, we're other
Yeah.
things as well,
Exactly. Of course. 100%. And you're amazing. I find you so magnetic, so interesting. I can tell you're like in your purpose and in your passion with like the podcast and the YouTube. And I absolutely love it. And I want to ask, I know a lot of people think like, oh, if I won the lottery, I would feel way happier. I would feel way more confident. Was that your experience? Like, do you think you're happier and more confident and because of winning the lottery?
Uh, I, initially, of course, because the degree of exhilaration that you feel, that one feels, that most people feel if you win the lottery, if you win a lottery jackpot, is through the roof. And of course, you're going to be, super, super happy. But then what I found with most lottery winners, and there are studies that will show this as well, but, from my personal study and my personal life, is that the exhilaration wears off.
Hmm.
It doesn't take too long to wear off. And then you get back to a baseline of around where you were. And they say that a lot of lottery winners, most lottery winners I've met will agree with me in saying this, that it tends to magnify personalities in that you are still yourself, but you can be a larger version of yourself. So if you're really into the church, maybe you'll build a church, or do something big in that way. If you're really into movies, maybe you'll make a movie. If you're into that sort of thing. And that's not the case for every lottery winner, but I would say that it can make you a larger version of yourself. So for myself, after I won, after the exhilaration wore off, I felt that, as the same person. It's just that I was able to do things maybe a little easier, maybe a larger version of myself. And so the confidence, I guess, it probably did in a sense. I mean, it solves financial worries. It can solve financial worries. I mean, it really depends on how much you win and your situation. But I think I was confident before I won.
Hmm.
I certainly loved journalism. I loved interviewing people. I did that before I won the lottery. I did that before I went to college. Like I've been doing that since I was a little kid and trying to entertain people and just love cameras and you know,
And I think that's
for,
what it's all about, following our purpose. Like, even if you win the lottery, even if I won the same amount as you did today, I would still be doing the same thing, doing my channel. I think just purpose is number one, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What makes you happy?
Hmm. And
Mhm.
I'm wondering, so when you first won, like feeling so exhilarated, like that just must be one of the highest vibrations you've ever felt. Cause it's just like, wow, this is just crazy for this to happen. And just the feelings involved, because you have such security and freedom. You never have to worry. You can fulfill your dreams. You can help other people. Just that must have been such a deep, amazing feeling. And along with those amazing feelings and happiness, I feel like it puts you in a good vibration and sets you up to attract other amazing things. So did you feel like after that win, being on that high, like tying into law of attraction stuff too, were you also then attracting other amazing things? Like, did you notice a difference at the same time or no?
I noticed that there were a lot of positive opportunities that came with it. For myself on my journey, it was very exhilarating. I initially was pretty terrified of sharing too much of the lottery with strangers, and so kept it pretty quiet for quite a while. Other than the people that knew, I just had to. I moved away from where I was,
Mhm.
and so this new community of people where I had moved at the time, most of them did not know, and so I sort of went on with my life. But I noticed the opportunities. There were positive opportunities that came because of it. I believe that if you want to talk about manifesting and creating your reality, I believe that when I became happier again, because that was a time when I felt, kind of isolated and so forth, but I went on with my life and I I believed that I believe it can be very, very positive.
Mhm.
And when you look at the world through a positive lens, I think it just opens up positive opportunities if you believe that today is going to be a good day. Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? I think your perspective really, really matters about how you live, and your perception really. I mean, that's your whole world is in your head. I mean, not really. I believe that we're connected to something much larger than that, but your perception, like how you feel, really, really matters. And if you can do that with gratitude for what you have and stay positive, I think it makes a huge difference, and hopeful and
Yeah, I was going to
believe.
ask you how important you think gratitude is in manifesting a good life. I think it's really important.
I think it is as well. And it's had I not won the lottery, I still think it's important. I mean, there are people. I interviewed a lottery winner once that he won. I believe it was $250,000, but the amount is sort of irrelevant. What's really interesting about it is that he gave away almost all of it to help feed the homeless
Wow.
because he was passionate about helping homeless people, and that makes him happy. And he came from a third world country where he couldn't, he turned on the tap for water and air would come out, and he was eventually kidnapped, and so he escaped and eventually got away from that situation and immigrated to the United States and became this renowned chef, and he's cooked for several presidents now as well as movie stars including Arnold Schwarzenegger and some other people. And his story, the reason I bring it up is that I feel that his mindset is very positive, and I think that can go a long, long ways in life to living a healthier, happier life. And you don't have to win the lottery to be happy. It can help. I believe that it magnifies your personality, it can be very, very positive. But if you're a miserable person prior to winning a lottery jackpot, you might still be a miserable person
Mhm.
after it. You might still have the same problems. It depends you might not have financial problems, but
So
there's
true.
a lot. Yeah. But
So
if you're a happy
true.
person, you might be,
Even happier.
yeah,
'Cause you
yeah.
can just go bigger with everything. Well, I'm
That's,
wondering too, like what you were saying about the guest you had that was giving. I just think so much of our life is not about ourselves, but about what we can do for others and the impact we have on others and how we can give to others as well. Also, I think we're here to be amazing creators and live our own life too, but I think giving is so important. So I'm wondering, as a result of winning the lottery, is there anything that stands out to you as something major you were so happy that you were able to give to somebody? Or was there like one major impact on somebody's life that just felt so good because you were able to like do this big thing for them as a result of winning this?
I I helped out some really close family members.
Mhm.
And so that's, those are some of the biggest things that I've done. And as far as helping other people. And I mean, that it felt amazing to be able
Yeah.
to help out the people that you love. I mean, it's, that's really a blessing. I felt very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. It's incredible to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I know you interview a lot of people, and I always hear like a statistic for I don't know what the exact number is, but they say a lot of people who win lose a lot of the money. So has that been a common theme that you've seen, or like what percentage do you
Mm.
think? And do you think maybe the reason for the loss also has to do with the law of attraction because maybe the person gets back into the lack mentality or has to do with beliefs and doesn't think they're like worthy of having that money and things like that?
Mm. That's a good question. And there are a lot of people that do believe that it has to do with the lack mentality. I, well, first of all, the percentage of people, before I dip into that, the percentage of
Mhm.
people that do go broke after winning the lottery, if you want to believe the media, it's fairly high. I've seen anywhere around 70 something percent of people that win get in financial trouble within 5 years or something like that. That's something I've seen. What I've experienced is not that, but I can see how people do get in financial trouble if they're not careful, because if you come across a few $1,000,000 or however much money that you didn't have beforehand, then it might be easy to think that it's just going to be there forever if you don't have an understanding of how much you can realistically afford to spend or not spend.
Mhm.
And to be financially responsible, if you're not educated in that, or you don't have people around you that are educated that can sort of coach you or guide you, I can understand how that type of thing can happen. I don't think that happens to a lot of lottery. I mean, it does happen to lottery winners, but whether it's as high as the 70%, I don't really know. But
Mhm.
also probably, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't
Mhm.
interviewed someone quite in that situation, but I do think that I do know that that happens to some people. And there is this belief amongst people that are really into manifesting that that is because of the lack mentality, that is why that happens. And I I don't know, I don't seem to
Mhm.
I don't I see where they're coming from, I guess. I'm not going to go as far as to say that is necessarily the case,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to, I don't know. I understand the argument,
Yeah.
but I do think there are a lot of variables involved with that, such as education and maybe fear. If you think it's just going to be there forever and you're not mindful of being financially responsible, or you don't understand that going off and buying these sports cars or whatever it is, then it's easy to do that. And it's not just lottery winners. There are people that are professional movie stars, rock stars, sports athletes that
Mhm.
come across millions of dollars, and then they go through it and it's easy to do, I think, if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And did you make some smart investments with it? You feel like you were why you're looking back now because it was a while ago. It was 1999, and I got to say, you must have been. I don't know how old you have to be to play the lottery there, but you were only 21. You must have been one of the youngest winners. And do you feel like you've invested wisely over the years? Looking back now, you're happy with how you've handled it?
I am one of the youngest winners. I was one of the youngest winners, and I I am pretty happy. I can't say that I've been perfect with the money, of course, but I've learned a lot. And I think one thing that's helped me is that I financially have been fairly conservative, where I never felt like I could go get whatever I wanted all the time,
Hmm.
or I never felt that way, because I felt like I would be in financial trouble if I did that. because I believe that that's true. I mean, if I went out and got whatever, a yacht, a few yachts, or, it could go rather quickly.
Yeah.
But I also have never been too much into material possessions, which I think is helpful. I've found that that's not where, at least for me, where happiness necessarily comes from. I think relationships matter more, in your state
Hmm.
of mind. And, if you have a new car, for example, I mean, it's so nice to ride in a new car, but it's nicer to ride in it with somebody to share it with, I think. It's
100%.
not it's not is it the possession itself, or is it the experience? I think it's the experience.
Absolutely. And I feel like winning the lottery must just open you up to having even more amazing experiences. And I feel like you're just so connected. So just so connected spiritually to whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, like with these dreams and everything. Do you always feel like you've always been super connected? And do you feel like there's a way that people can sort of induce these more connected, vivid dreams like you have had in your life?
I So for myself, have I have had dreams throughout my whole life, similar, where about things before they happen, and it doesn't happen every single night or anything, but I have had these experiences, and I find that type of thing very, very interesting. I think if someone wants to do that, some people will say, there's a genetic line there where it has to do with genetics, but I don't, I'm not that convinced that it's just that. I think that if you pursue and you open your mind and you meditate and you focus and you study, I mean, there are plenty of other people out there that have had similar experiences, and plenty of those people have written books about it, or they're informational books. And you do have to think critically and not believe everything you read or consume in the media, or from everything somebody says. But I think that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and there are people that are already doing that type of thing. And so that's what I would suggest, is researching into it, into that type of thing. But from my experience,
Mhm.
some of my tips would be to meditate and to focus on what you want, and ask the universe for what it is, the clarity that you want, or what you want. If you want to have a dream about something before it happens, or you want to have an experience that signifies something spiritual to you, that gives you deeper meaning, ask for that, and believe that that can happen. Not just in your head ask for that, verbally ask for that, from God, in a prayer state, and then see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to
you know
ask you what type of prayer state you think is most effective. So verbally, praying verbally. And then how do you feel like you get answers? If someone out there is feeling like they're disconnected and they want to hear answers from God, from the universe, and they have a hard time hearing, are there certain ways that you hear back these answers?
I believe that it comes from symbols, at least for myself, through dreams. A lot of times it's through
Mm,
symbols, so it's symbolic, but I don't believe that's just in the dream state. I think it happens in real life too. So if you keep trying to think of an example, but if you keep seeing the same type of thing, or you have the same theme happen over and over again in your life, or something happens that's, I believe the meaning is, it's what it means to you, and how you interpret that. So a lot of people that win the lottery, for example, will see certain numbers over and over again, or they'll have experiences about things that are out of the ordinary, and then it will happen. And that sort of things,
Mhm.
really, that doesn't happen to every lottery winner, but it does to has to quite a few of them that I've interviewed. So I find that type of thing very interesting. But I think symbols through dreams as well. People ask me sometimes, what does this dream mean? What is this? This happened in my dream. What does this mean? And almost always my answer will be, well, what did it mean to you at the time of the dream? Because that is what it means. Like,
Mhm.
what does that mean? It doesn't have to be literal. It's like a metaphor. You're, it's like a movie in your head. It's like, what does it mean to you at the time? And it's not
Mhm.
always literal. I had the dream that I mentioned earlier about the car crash, and that was literal. But, a lot of the experiences I've had through dreams have been symbolic. And for example, I've dreamed or dreamt of a plane crash multiple times in my life. And my understanding of that, what that symbolizes to me is change. It's not this devastating, horrible thing, but it's change that's impending, that's going to happen right away. And so I'll dream of a plane crash, and then the next day, the person I was dating broke up with me.
Mhm.
I
So you
had no
yeah.
warning, but I had the dream, so so it makes me feel that that we are connected to something higher than ourselves in order to gain this information. I believe in spiritual guides, and I believe that we're connected to something that's greater than ourselves. And for people that watch or listen to this that haven't had those types of experiences, it might sound kind of far fetched or hard to believe. But and I
Mhm.
respect atheists. I respect whatever you believe, but
Me too.
that's my experience.
Yeah, me too, absolutely. And I'm wondering, have you, with all these interviews you've had over the years, like, is there anything that stands out for the most amazing law of attraction story that you can think of? Was it the $112 million winner? And I'm also wondering, have you ever come across anybody who's won multiple times?
Hmm. So there, with the winners that have won multiple times, I have not yet interviewed someone that has won
Mhm.
multiple times, but I definitely hope to do that. And it does happen to people, and that's very, very interesting. There's just something to some of those people, because there are people that win millions of dollars multiple times. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that is
Although I did
interesting.
win, I did interview one person that's won smaller jackpots over and over again, and he teaches about manifestation and the law of attraction and that sort of thing. And he's won quite a few times. So I guess I did interview that person. But it's some of the most notable stories. The $112 million winner is
Yeah.
one of the most notable ones, I think, because she wrote out that specific amount and verbally recited it and strongly believed that would
Mhm.
win, and then it won. And she's, on top of that, she's like really into manifesting and the law of attraction, and so she intentionally did that, and then it won. I mean,
Yeah, it's incredible. It's so incredible to me. And I'm wondering, what do you think is the most powerful part of manifesting? Do you think it's thinking, feeling, or believing, or a combination of everything?
I mean, I think it's a combination of everything. I think believing is very important. I mean,
Mhm.
I really believe, I believe, no pun intended here. I think that believing, if you believe something, how powerful is that? I mean, you believe it. There's not too many things that are more powerful
Yeah.
than belief. And if you really get into this field of manifestation and look into that, then there are many people that argue that our reality is created not just here, what I'm thinking and feeling right now. Yes, that matters, but they argue that it's through the subconscious mind, that it comes through the subconscious, through something even beyond that. There's the conscious, the subconscious, and then the superconscious. So it's something that is beyond that, which I'm starting to understand this theory, but I believe that that is the equivalent of God or this universe energy that we're all connected to. And so I believe that there's nothing more powerful than that. And it sounds, I don't know if this sounds crazy to you or not, but I
No,
find
no,
that
I'm
very
so
interesting.
into it.
So
The
if you,
power, yeah, the power of the subconscious mind. I read a few years ago, and that book totally changed my life. Is there any books that stand out to you if somebody wants to get into the subconscious mind that just were so life changing for you?
yeah, I just remembered the title of the book that I read maybe a year or yeah, probably a year ago, maybe less. So pretty recently. Think and Grow Rich is what it was called.
Oh, I read that. It's good.
Because there's so many people on my that watch my YouTube channel that are really into this stuff, and I really want to understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I read this book, and it was, for me, I found a lot of it very interesting. And when I started as an experiment doing some of the things in this book, I found some very interesting things happen rather quickly, such as some interviews that popped up and some other experiences that were interesting. But I think that the subconscious mind is very, very powerful.
Me too. Absolutely. Like I said earlier on too, I've noticed a huge difference listening to those affirmations right before I fall asleep and right in the morning and sometimes through the night as well. And then being displayed, the changes in my actual life too. So I really believe in it too.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm wondering with your dream, so you had the dream and then it totally shifted because then you believed you had won. So I'm just wondering, do you think that people still win when because I believe that when you started believing that, then you're sort of, maybe if you had a lack mentality, it shifted and changed, right? Because you believed it. So you thought maybe you don't have to worry about money anymore if you did worry about money. So what I'm asking is, do you think that people who don't have that shift and maybe they're in a lack mentality, can they still attract like a lottery win or something like that? Do you think?
People that,
Like,
well,
yeah.
there are people that win the lottery that I haven't interviewed very many of them, so I can't. It's hard to generalize, but there are people that win the lottery that think it's just luck and coincidence, right place, right time. And that's all it
Hmm.
is. And I respect those winners. I love and interview everyone that I can that wins the lottery because I find it very cathartic and interesting to interview them. But more times than not, people will have had experiences or they will believe beforehand, and it's not the lack mentality. In fact,
Hmm.
I don't think I've interviewed any lottery winners that have had a lack mentality,
Wow.
that thought that they weren't going to win, or
Wow.
that it couldn't happen. They believed at least that it could happen, and they daydreamed about what might happen when they win. So it's I think our mentality really matters. And so there are lots of people that would say that that's because of their mentality. And then there are people that think it's just all coincidence, but it's interesting, especially when you get to the people that specifically practice
Hmm.
manifestation and the law of attraction, and then they win that, or that comes to be. And I've interviewed several people, people that have won. One woman in Ireland won 1 million. The woman I just interviewed today won $1,000 a week for life. And then the woman that won 112, another woman won, I think it was 1 million. Another, there's several. I don't need to list them all here, but it's
Yeah.
really it's really interesting. And one thing those everyone had in common was that they really believed it, and they practiced that. They practiced it in that they believed it and they visualized it, and then it happened. So
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. I love this topic. And your channel is just filled with so many amazing interviews and discussions on this as well. So I will definitely be sure to link it down below. And before we close off, I'm just wondering, do you feel called to leave any closing words with anyone out there, maybe regards to how they've dreamt about winning the lottery, or maybe regards to them trying to get more positive and get more into manifesting and more into believing that their life can turn around, these amazing things can happen?
Mm. Yeah, I'll try to keep this brief, but one thing is when it comes to the lottery, my advice is always to play, have fun with it. Have fun with it. Never spend more than you can afford to spend. You shouldn't be getting in financial trouble to play the lottery. That's my advice. Have fun with it, but also understand that you do have a chance to win if you play. And I don't get any sort of commission or anything from the lottery. So I don't want to be that guy. But you do have a chance if you play. But have fun with it. Never spend more than you can afford, and know that you do have a chance. And beyond that, in general in life, I think that keeping a positive mentality is always beneficial to yourself and to those around you, and to have hope and to believe. And if you're into meditation and that sort of thing, I would encourage you to dive into that, because I found it very, very helpful. And with dreams, listen to your dreams and write them down, especially if you're the type of person that you can correlate something from the dreams to something in real life, because I believe that we can get messages through the dream state, but we can get messages in lots of ways. That's one of the ways. But long story short, you do have a chance to win the lottery if you play, and stay positive and be just thankful that you're here right now. That's my advice,
Yeah.
because you
And
never know.
that's
There's no
great advice.
guarantees. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if it's not a lottery win, just being more grateful and positive, it leads to a better life in all areas anyway, whether it's the lottery or relationships, more money, not even necessarily the lottery. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering, I just want to ask too, do you have any tips for meditating? So I want to get more into meditating. Like, is there certain tips or
Mm.
tricks that work for you? I know some people like to stare at a candle flame in a dark room for 10 minutes, or lay and listen to an air conditioner unit. Is there anything you can recommend? And how long do you think is an effective meditation session?
Well, for me, I do a lot of it through prayer. And so I just, I don't know that the length of time
Hmm.
matters as much as it does to the substance of what you're doing. And so for myself, before I go to bed, almost every day, I'll pray to God. And if you don't believe in God, it doesn't have to be this, I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't want to get
Yeah.
religious and offend anybody here, but anyway, I believe that we're connected to this higher power, and I pray to this, and I believe that I get answers, and I verbally recite what it is that I want to know, or that I'm seeking to do. And I say it in the sense of, I am this. I can do this. This can be this way with your help. Please help me do it this way. It's not necessarily a plea of desperation. It's a belief that anything is possible with God, because I believe that is true. I believe you can move mountains, so to speak, if you believe it,
Hmm.
to a large extent.
Hmm.
I think our mentality really matters. So I guess that's what I'm getting. And it doesn't have to it doesn't have to be the lottery. I just mean in
Hmm.
general in life, you can do just about anything. There are people that, like the person I interviewed, that came from a third world country and had air coming out of the tap, to now serving food to multiple presidents of the United States. You can, if you put your mind to it, you can do incredible things. He has belief, by the way. He's very spiritual and very much into God. And I'm fairly confident that he prays. So
Absolutely, 100%. Well said. And thank you again so much for being on with us. And for anybody who's wondering, where can they find you? And I will link that down below as well.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And is there anywhere, so I'll link your podcast, but is there anywhere else other than the podcast that they can find you, or should I just link the podcast?
You could link the YouTube channel, and timothy-schultz.com is my website.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thanks
Yeah.
again. I think you're so awesome. I think your channel's
Oh,
amazing.
you you too. And yeah, and are you mostly focusing on are you mostly doing manifestation stuff now? Are you
I do
doing
well, I'm raw vegan, so that totally changed my life
Mhm.
and made me feel like more
Yeah.
connected and it fixed all my
Mhm.
health problems. It totally has just transformed everything. So that's just led me down a much more spiritual path too. So my channel's been a lot of transformations people have experienced through raw veganism or through other ways. And I've also interviewed somebody who had near death experience. And yeah, I want to get more. I'm just big into manifesting law of attraction. I'm becoming a lot more positive now. So I want to just expand my content into all of that as well. And I'll just end off with the viewers too. Just I want to say to the viewers so I can stop recording for that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this and I hope it added some value to your life as well. And make sure you head over and subscribe to Timothy's channel. It's high vibe and amazing. And be sure to subscribe to this one if you don't already. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.